Welcome, everybody. This is Begoña Clavel-Arroitia, and together with Abraham Cerveró-Carrascosa, who's also here with me, we are going to present our talk today. We are also speaking on behalf of Barry Pennock-Speek, and we all come from the University of Valencia. Our talk is about designing virtual exchanges to foster intercultural communicative competence, and we will be drawing on a telecollaborative experience in pre-service teacher education. So first of all, let's present the index. I will be offering a brief introduction, and I will also present the two projects at the intersection of which our virtual exchange lies. I'll also present the pedagogical materials employed in the virtual exchange, and then Abraham will present the exchange itself, the outcomes, and some conclusions and takeaways. So as way of introduction, we would like to present the concept of blended learning. Most of you will be familiarized with the term, but just in case, we wanted to present it here. Several authors have highlighted the importance of this approach. It is an approach, a flexible approach that combines both technology and classroom instruction, and it has been documented to facilitate the teaching and learning of competencies. We have observed that teachers nowadays have moved away from pure e-learning context and are more familiarized with blended learning approaches. In the context of blended learning, one of the most important tools, rather than a tool, we can consider it an approach or a methodology, would be telecollaboration or virtual exchange. We bring here the most important definition by Bells. She talks about telecollaboration as a tool that involves the application of global computer networks to foreign and second language learning and teaching in institutionalized settings. And this is a key word here, because you're talking about an approach that what it does is not something that students do outside the classroom time and they do because out of their own needs or interest, but this is something that is embedded in the classroom. It's included in the curriculum. And it's normally carried out under the guidance of a language cultural expert, which is normally a teacher. And the final aim would be foreign language learning and the development of intercultural competence. This is an expanded definition of the term, also by Bells. And she explains that partners that are collaborating in one of these projects are dispersed in different countries or territories, and they have access to a great variety of communicative tools. And these tools help them to enhance social interaction, dialogue, debate, and intercultural exchange. And especially in the case of those students who are confined to the traditional setting, such as the classroom, and do not have the possibility to get in touch with peers from other representations of the world. We like to think of this as a very democratic kind of approach. So in the context of virtual exchange, normally, we use either video conferences or virtuals. In the first place, video conferences refer to using audiovisual content, audiovisual interaction in platforms such as Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, and students, work in pairs in what we call language tandems when they are practicing each other's L1, or in lingua franca partnerships when both cohorts are practicing a common target language. And these tasks are normally developed by lecturers at the university who participate in these kind of projects, but also taking into account the needs of the teachers and students participating in the exchanges. The other setting where virtual exchange normally happens would be virtuals. In the eLife project where we participated, we used the tool FrameVR. Now, as I said before, the virtual exchange that Abraham will present in a minute falls at the intersection of two different research projects, the first of which is the eLife project. eLife stands for Engaging Languages in Intercultural Virtual Exchange, was funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, and it finished in January 2025. The consortium partners involved 3 universities in 3 European countries, 2 secondary schools, and 1 IT expert. We also provide you with a link here if you're interested in finding out more information about the project. You can also simply Google the eLife project and you will get it. The main aim in our project was to contribute to enhancing digital pedagogical competencies of language teacher trainers, trainees, and school teachers. And our main aim was to innovate, enrich, and make more effective and meaningful lingua culture teaching. The second of the projects is the Socio-EMOVE project. This one stands for Developing Socio-Emotional Skills in Virtual Exchange, and was funded by the Ministry of Science, Innovation and Universities. We are still working on it right now, and it will finish in November 2026. The main aim of this project is to analyze the effects that integrating VE as an innovative pedagogy in higher education can have on the development of students' socio-emotional skills. We are interested in skills such as empathy, compassion, and resilience, which have become essential not only at an academic level, but also for students' mental health. This is related to one of the Sustainable Development Goals, in particularly 4.4, and it aims to increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills. And virtual exchange has proven to be particularly apt at developing students' competencies for lifelong learning and for their future employability. We are a team that comes from different areas and countries. We have researchers in Spain at different universities in Spain, also in other European countries. We also have members from the United States and from Latin America. Now I'm going to briefly introduce the pedagogical materials that were employed in the virtual exchange. The pedagogical materials were created in the framework of the eLife project, and they were created using the tool Genially. They are interactive materials, and they address key issues related to VE as a way to enrich language learning processes. They are under the section Teacher Education Modules on our webpage and can be easily accessed and freely accessed by anyone. One of the modules dealt with digital pedagogies. The second module dealt with intercultural competence and European citizenship. The third one with engagement and motivation. And finally, the last one revolved around the design of tasks and teacher roles for virtual exchange. And now, Abraham will continue with the presentation. The floor is yours, Abraham.
Thank you very much, Begoña. Well, I'll pick it up from here. Okay, this is the description of the exchange. Next, okay, thank you very much. This is the team. Okay, so we had Tania Ryden from the University of Portsmouth, and then from the Université Paris-Nanterre, we had Marie Bayet, and our local team, Begoña Clavel and myself, with the support of Barry Pennock. Okay. And this is the exchange, okay? So it took place in small international teams. Each team was composed of members from all three participating institutions, okay? So we had pre-service teachers, okay? From the University of Valencia, we had 35 participants, 15 from the University of Portsmouth, and from the French University of Paris-Nanterre, okay, we had another 15. Altogether, we had 16 students, okay, who made up 6 teams. The exchange lasted for 4 weeks, exactly the same amount of modules that described before, and the objective was to produce a virtual exchange by observing the guidelines from training modules and completing a lesson plan template. One important point is that participation was voluntary for the UV pre-service teachers. However, once they enrolled the virtual exchange, the lesson plan they produced was included as a formal assignment. Okay, so now the first step of the exchange. All the pre-service teachers from all 3 institutions read 1 topic per week online from the eLife modules described before. These modules were covered the virtual exchange essentials, engagement and motivation, intercultural communicative competence development, digital tools, and task design in virtual exchange. And then the second step, okay, meant students exchanging opinions about the training synchronously and asynchronously with their counterpart from the British and the French universities. And the next step, okay, the teams designed a lesson plan following the TBLT cycle for a potential collaborative exchange. And then the fourth step, meant that in class, okay, the UV, our students, okay, and myself offered feedback on the lesson plans and materials designed by the other groups. Right, this is the lesson plan template. It included the target group that the virtual exchange design was addressed to, the main objective, the description of the task, the pre-task, the task, and the post-task activities, the outputs, what your students should produce, how they were going to have the students communicate, the deadlines, the length of the sessions and the whole virtual exchange, and then the digital tools that they would use, who the authors were, the names, okay, and how they were going to assess what their students would produce and the learning process. Okay, and right, those are the lesson plan outcomes, okay? So the modules had an impact, okay? The lesson plans consistently included aspects covered in the training, okay? And when Preservist teachers' proposals were analyzed in terms of management and organization, it stood out an alignment, okay, in terms of engagement, task design, digital tools like Padlet, Moodle, Zoom, and Canva, as they had gone through during the training. Okay, they also envisaged assessment at different moments of the virtual exchange in different ways. They proposed reflective writing, expository video clips, peer and self-assessment forms on participation and on learning achievement. And also they focus on formative and summative assessment. And more importantly, a couple of teams included guidelines for students with special educational needs. Okay. And most of all, the virtual exchange enable these Preservist teachers to reflect upon the development and how to generate virtual exchanges to develop the intercultural communicative competence. Okay, so they prioritized effective communication. They mentioned using translanguaging, for example, if necessary, moving from language to language, using all the linguistic repertoire. They also engaged, and I will say, unfortunately, only on surface level cultural aspects like music, foods and drinks, and cooking and Christmas traditions. Okay, unfortunately, they did not address critical and reflective intercultural learning. Okay, because they described like differences and similarities. And they did not go farther, okay, and they did not ask why those differences exist, or the power dynamics, or the context in which they had taken place. And another major gap was that the focus of those fees, the outputs, were focused mostly on knowledge and skills. But the impact on attitudes was overlooked. Okay. Having described all that, having mentioned all that, okay, here we go with some conclusions and some recommendations for further practice. Okay. Well, in the first place, okay, firstly, training for organizing and managing a virtual exchange can be a real asset in teacher education. What we noticed is that lesson plans clearly reflected what they had gone through the modules, the training modules. Having a three-part CV is a challenge, okay, and that is because they experience firsthand how the benefits and the trouble that they can face when organizing their future virtual exchanges. Okay, the intercultural communicative competence was present in lessons, okay, but as we mentioned, at a superficial level of cultural engagement. And these are recommendations for further iterations. We think that they should encourage deeper critical intercultural reflection, why those differences exist, what the relations of power involved are. Okay, I think that they need, we should ask them to have the students explore deep culture aspects like values, beliefs, communication norms, privilege, and not just food or festivals. And we also should include structured debriefing sessions, okay, to analyze external outcomes, how they will behave, in the future, the appropriate behavior in those intercultural situations. And last but not least, okay, it would make sense to include those special educational needs guidelines, like our required component of every virtual exchange, so that we can have a look at inclusive education. So that is it. Thank you very much. Should you have any questions, please let us know. Or yeah, you just send us an email. Yeah, you have our addresses on the screen, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.